Star's Journey, Chapter 8. I woke the next morning in my own bed, covered in my own sheets, and staring at the star stickers on our roof. Everything seemed to fade away as I looked up, my eyes focused on one specific star. It was almost like that past few weeks were a dream. I was back here in bed, safe and sound, away from all the trauma, and I rolled over to see Emma still sleeping and as if nothing happened. The notes of the spells were tidy and set to the side, the only reminder of everything as I awoke. I look outside to see the sun just barely on the horizon, running my hand through my hair just to feel the layer of dirt that caked itself into my skull. I groan, getting up and heading to the bathroom with a clean change of clothes. I look in the mirror, my damp hair dripping onto the counter below me as I stare at myself. I didn't know what was so fascinating, but everything about me seemed so different, but at the surface it seemed fine. I felt stronger, but so weak. I flinched as I heard footsteps down the hall. "Starine?" Emma's voice called out softly. "I'll be out in a minute," I reply, wrapping my hair in a towel and patting down the clothes on my body, trying to ground myself, taking a deep breath in and then out before leaving the room. I began to walk past her, but she stopped me, putting her hand out softly. I look at her as she looks past me, her eyes searching for the words to say as her mouth opens slightly. "Hey," I said softly, putting my hand on her shoulder. "It's gonna be okay. We gotta take this one step at a time." She nodded softly and walked past me slowly into the bathroom, shutting the door behind her. I put my laundry in the basket and walked downstairs, a feeling in my bones telling me to go through my normal routine of cooking everyone breakfast. I smiled at myself. A sense of normalcy would be good for us all. So I started cooking, making some nice mint green fluffy pancakes for everyone. I added some chocolate chips, thinking a bit of extra energy would be good for us all. I flinch as I see Winter standing in the doorway, barely blocked by a cabinet holding cooking ingredients. He was leaning against it, watching me cook, and I couldn't help but stop and stare awkwardly back at him. His eyes looked sad, but there was a soft smile on his face. "Would you like to help?" I say softly, lifting my spatula and offering it to him. His eyes widened, a stubborn smile as he sniffled slightly, shaking his head and nodding. "Yeah, I don't mind helping," he said softly, taking it and watching the pancakes I already flipped. "Are you okay?" I say, noticing the quietness of his demeanor this morning. Silence and an odd calmness in his stare. There was anguish in his eyes, mourning in his stare as he moved a pancake. He just nodded softly. "Just homesick," he mumbled. "My mom and I used to cook pancakes a lot." He chuckled. "So, this hurts." I flinch as I see his shoulders tense up, his fist shaking slightly as he grips the spatula. I open my mouth, trying to think of the words I should say to him. But I close my mouth, letting him speak. "You make this hurt less." He smiles at me, pain in his eyes, but a gentle smile. "You feel like home to me, and I know this is crazy. I know we've only known each other for a week. You've only known me for a week," he says, his voice growing between loud and then a soft mumble. I tilt my head at his words. "My mother knew your aunt, and your aunt and my mother would talk non-stop about you and your sister. I thought you were stupid for caring so much about someone so uncontrollable." He pauses, chuckling to himself as I glare at him. I wasn't angry. I understood where he was coming from, but I knew there was more he was trying to say. "But then I realized just how brave you were, how strong you were, and I really wanted to find you, to protect you, so even if Emma failed, you could show the better in people." We met each other's gaze as he finished talking. I felt happy tears in my eyes, a warm smile on my face as I admired his words and how he said them, looking down to hide both my tears and the redness on my face as the first of his ramble filled my ears. "You feel like home." I couldn't ignore what Emma said now either. I did have a crush on him. His strong demeanor, yet soft inside. He was just a big puppy, both literally and physically some days. I liked that he had a heart, but knew when to stand his ground, with the power to do so. I had crushes before, none of them understanding me or hating me eventually because of Emma, so it was nice to find someone who didn't naturally get scared off, and he was so different. I sniffle, the tears dripping down my face making my nose run, although on the second intake of air, I quickly turn and look at the stove beside us as the smell of smoke fills my nose. "Starine, why do I smell smoke?" our mom said, walking down the stairs. I quickly panicked and grabbed the pan lid to isolate the fire before it got out of hand, taking it off the stove and running outside, the fire alarm blaring behind me. I glanced around our front yard. It was just before people started heading outside to work or to school, so I quickly made a water spell and doused the pan as I opened the lid. The small flaming pancake soon went out. It was charcoal black on one side and soggy brown on the other. I laughed at myself and calmly walked back inside to see our mom with her arms crossed and Winter waving a kitchen towel at the smoke alarm to make it stop beeping. Emma came running down the stairs, only one sock on, her pants halfway rolled up on one leg, her shirt on backwards, and her hair dripping wet. Once she saw me bring the pan back inside, she stormed off upstairs again. "Sorry," I yelled towards the stairs. I could hear Emma grumbling as the bathroom door shut behind her again. I sighed and smiled at her mom. "Sorry," I say, much quieter as she shakes her head. "I swear you two are trying to destroy this house." She laughed softly and walked upstairs back to her room. Winter stood there leaning against the counter and looking at the fire alarm, an annoyed glare on his face as he made sure it wasn't going to go off again. I sighed and brought the pan over to the trash, scraping off the last of the burnt pancake before going back and cooking the rest of the batter. Winter handed me the spatula with an embarrassed smile on his face. "I'm sorry I forgot about them," he said softly, running his hand through his hair. "It's all right. I also forgot, so I guess it's both of our faults," I say softly, pouring some batter into the pan and calmly sighing as I turn the stove back on. "Did you turn it off?" I say softly. He nodded. "Thank you. It was safer off, even if I didn't smell anything. My mom always told me not to leave anything in the kitchen turned on and unattended," he said softly. "Yeah, well, she's pretty smart. I guess that's where you get it then, huh?" His eyes widen and he looks away, failing to hide the smile on his face. There was a calm silence between us as I continued to cook, flipping the pancakes after a while and then putting it onto the stack of other pancakes, just to do it again. I smiled as I cooked. I couldn't get his words out of my head, but I guessed it would be better not to make a fool of myself and say it out loud, so I just continued to cook. Eventually, all the batter was cooked, all the pancakes were served, and everyone came to sit down and eat. Emma's hair was still a little wet, but always as messy and puffy as it usually is. Our mom looked more awake than usual, much happier as she ate. It was nice that she wasn't mad at me for setting off the fire alarm. Winter sat beside me, quietly eating. He was eating faster than Emma usually did. He wasn't making a mess, he was being polite, but he was eating noticeably faster and seemed to enjoy every bite. I couldn't help but giggle at it. "Hey," I say, flinching as I felt Emma kick my leg from under the table. I glare at her as she smiles at me, a teasing smile as she points her fork to Winter and then at me. I huff and continue eating. My face gets red as Emma starts humming a tune that most people would use to tease couples. I didn't think Winter realized it, but I noticed our mom hiding a smile. I glared at Emma, glancing at my hand and focusing my magic to form a small fireball on her fork. It got her attention, and the moment her eyes locked on it, I moved my finger, directing the fireball upwards and hitting her in the nose. She laughed softly, finally getting Winter's attention away from his food. "Do I need to make a rule of no magic at the table?" I sit up straighter, looking at my plate. "No, Mom. I'll behave." Emma started it, I say, snickering. She shakes her head and continues to eat. We continued to eat until we had to go. Winter stayed at our house, and our mom took the time to find him some online classes to take until he got caught up to our year. As Emma and I walked to school, I could see her slowly start to shake more, her eyes flickering from side to side. We ended up getting to school a little late, but I think that was for the best. There weren't a lot of students to bother us. Only a few looked our way, and just 2 came to welcome us back. It was short, a little, "It's good to see you," until we opened the front doors. I could see Emma breathing quickly, her eyes looking for something, probably a way to run. I pull on her arm gently, bringing her towards the hallway to the office as I see the door swing open beside me. Ira ran towards us and hugged us. "Oh my God, you guys are safe! You are alive!" she said, starting to cry. It seemed to make Emma smile, her hug grounding her as Emma relaxed and hugged her back. "I thought for sure Ava had done something to you, or found you guys, or something even worse happened to you." "It did," I say softly as Emma continues to hug Ira. Ira looks at me confused, not pushing Emma away as she calmed down. She managed to... I glance at Emma as I notice her shake. She managed to kill Emma. Obviously, we brought her back to life. Please don't ask. I don't even know where to start. But she did find us. She did hunt us down, and I was stuck in the forest for a few days. But we're back, we're together, and we're pretty sure we can figure this out. I said, confused and sighing softly. If class weren't about to start, I would drag you into the office and force you to tell me everything. I've been worried sick, Ira says, pulling away slightly and putting her hands on our shoulders. I've been worried about you too, Emma said softly. Ava's got a lot of tricks up her sleeve. A lot of spells and minions to help her. Actually, Ira said, smiling wide, most of her minions were disbanded. That's why I was so scared. Clinton and Carl seem to be different, but they're like the only ones left. I smiled. It was an odd smile. I was angry to be double-crossed by Clinton and Carl, but it made me happy that they were all we had to worry about now. I guess she didn't expect us to bring Emma back. Emma smiled wide, her shaking stopping slightly. I can't express to you how much relief that gives me, Emma said softly, putting her hands in her pockets, glancing around. Now, instead of maybe a dozen people hunting us down, it's just the 3. Actually, it was 3 dozen before, Ira mumbles. I stare at Ira as my jaw drops, Emma having the same reaction. But it's fine, everything is better now. 3 dozen? Ira, that's 36 people! 36 who were on board with hunting me down! Emma yelled, her hand coming out of her pockets to exaggerate her words before running through her hair. Yeah, but most of them were under some sort of spell, she said softly, flinching as the bell rings. Well, see you in class? She smiled at us as I patted Emma's shoulder. Yeah, and if not in class, then at lunch, I say softly. She nodded as she headed back inside the office, and Emma and I started walking towards our first class. I felt my feet aching as we got closer to the door, a pit in my stomach with every step. I could hear Emma mumbling to herself, both of us stopping in the doorway as we saw Ava. Her back was turned, talking to Clinton and Carl. They seemed tired, uninterested in what she was saying, and spaced off. I glanced at Emma as she stood there, tears streaming down her face as her body shook. I felt an ice cold chill run up my spine as she mumbled softly. I don't want to die. She slowly looked away and towards me, her face stained with tears, her fearful eyes shaking as she tried to look at me. Her breathing was quick, and I could tell she was trying hard not to bite her tongue. I glanced back at Ava to see Clinton and Carl looking at us. I knew it was about to make Ava turn around. I couldn't risk them seeing each other face to face like this. Not yet, and not with Emma in this fragile of a headspace. I quickly grabbed Emma by the arm of her sweater and ran off. I felt my own breathing speed up as I fed off Emma's fear. I ran to the bathroom knowing we'd be away from all the staring eyes. Emma, listen to me. You aren't going to die. We're going to take this one step at a time. Do you hear me? Emma, come on, look at me. I grabbed her face gently as she looked around for a threat that wasn't here. I don't want to die, Star. Hey, you aren't going to die, Emma. Not again. I felt anger rise, my thoughts centered on Ava and how broken Emma seemed. Just relax. Breathe, please, I say softly as she leans against the wall, slowly sliding down it and sitting on the floor sobbing, but thankfully breathing. There you go. I felt my protective magic flaring at the surface, ready to defend ourselves against her. I couldn't let this anger fester any longer. I didn't want to hurt her. Well, that was a lie. I wanted to hurt her. I wanted to avenge Emma. I will be right back, I say, standing up a bit straighter. Emma looked up at me, scared. What are you doing? She said, her voice shaking and stuttering slightly through tears. Just talking to her, I mumble angrily and storm out the door. I flinch as I see Ava coming out of the classroom, the door closing behind her as she turns and smiles at me. There was surprise in her eyes, but an evil grin. I could still hear Emma sobbing quietly in the bathroom as I glanced over my shoulder to see the door slowly shutting. Ava looked even more surprised, her smile fading to anger as she looked at me. So, I say, letting my anger form my words for me. Looks like your little plan backfired, I spat, standing my ground as I faced her. She looked down at me, a smug, angry expression on her face. It appears so. She smirked. Although, I'm sure my backup plan will take care of you pests. I felt my magic rush to the surface, shaking my head angrily as I forced it down. That's if you get to it. Our plan will wipe that smug smirk off your face, I say, ultimately just trying to sound better than her. This only made her smirk grow into a smile as Clinton and Carl walked out of the room, standing on either side of her. They looked tired. No, tired didn't even begin to explain it. They looked terrible, their backs arched forwards, their arms dropped at their sides, and their glossy gray eyes looked down at the ground. What do you mean by your plan? I saw the smile that lay spite through her words. She wanted to get information out of me. What? You think you're the only smart one here? I can create plans. I know how you work, Ava. I know what you are. I know how to take you and your stupid crew down. I felt my body shake as I held down my fire, my palms burning, finally understanding Winter's words as I directed my magic inwards. I have so much more power because of you. I snap, glaring at her as my eye flickers. She chuckles and takes a step towards me. I don't doubt she noticed my eyes flickering around quickly for an escape before I continue to stand my ground and stare her down. Power that you would never use against me. Someone you called a friend, right? I felt a chill run up my spine as she leaned forward, seeming much bigger than usual to me as she leaned over. And yes, I do think I'm the smart one here. I mean, look at you. She chuckled after leaving it at that. I felt my body ache, the magic I was holding down standing on the thinnest line of thread that was quickly being cut. I grit my teeth, letting my anger flow through my words as best as I can. Is that the best you've got? I screamed, my anger flowing too freely, my demon form bursting to the surface, sending a pain through my body, tears coming to my eyes as I continued to glare at her, using the adrenaline to push past the pain. I have learned to control the powers of a demon you brought on to me! Because you messed with our plans. We only meant to take away Emma's. Ava stuttered slightly. Shut up! I scream. She flinches as her mouth closes tightly. I had to survive in the woods because I was too scared to go back to a place where I thought I was safe, where I was kidnapped from, where I saw my sister murdered in front of me. My right eye turned black freely, both of my eyes glowed and my tail swishing side to side as I continued to form tight fists at my sides. I was too weak to hurt her. I couldn't bring myself to, but God did I want to. And you still think I'm the bad guy! You think I'm the monster here! I could see Ava backing away slightly. It made me happy in a terrifying way to see her scared of me. You committed countless crimes because you think you're all high and mighty! She glanced between Clinton and Carl, whose eyes seemed to switch between a glossy gray and their natural color. I shake my head and continue, taking a few steps towards her as my wings stretch out, making myself look bigger. You still think Emma and I are the monsters, when all we want is to prove that we're good! All the students here know that! Half of them saw her save me, without killing anyone! I felt my fire burning in my hands, a ping of anger bringing myself over the edge as I formed a fireball. Who's coming to save you? I felt a pain in my skull as my other eye turned black. I saw genuine fear in her eyes for a second as her eyes glowed, her jaw clenching tightly. I was about to open my mouth again. Screams or words that probably would have contained profanities were caught short in my lungs as I felt a pull on my sweater arm. I swing around angry that someone would interrupt me as I give Ava nothing near what she deserved. I flinch as I'm met with the calm eyes of Ira. She held onto my arm tightly, confidently and bravely. Her calm eyes hold so much trust in me. I dismissed the fire as it sparked near her arm. I calmly looked back at Ava, still holding the anger I had towards her. Only my right eye was black again. Do you have anything to say for yourself? I spit, glaring at her. She looked at me calmly, the smirk returning to her face as she glances down at my hand. I knew they were red. I could feel the blistering heat from them. You are as uncontrollable as that monster you call your sister. Half-blood or pureblood, demons like yourselves are threats. I felt pain shoot through my wings as my magic pulsed violently through my blood. Look at your hands. That uncontrollable power, it's bound to kill countless people. I felt my fist tighten at my side, my shoulder twitching as the muscles got ready to draw back. I felt my jaw tighten, my teeth clenching as I glared at her, my face hot and red with anger. She looked me up and down, smirking. Do you really want to prove it to everyone? Hitting me? Just like a monster would. I flinch as I bring my hand back, just to be pulled backwards further by Ira, and used as leverage as she swings at Ava. My eyes widen as I see fury in Ira's eyes as her fist made contact with Ava's face. I gasp slightly as she stands there, Ava stumbling backwards, being caught by Clinton and Carl. Her face quickly healed as she glared at Ira with hatred, a betrayed look on her face as they stared each other down. I don't have anything to prove. I am a human, Ira said confidently, and it's very clear you're the monster here. I have seen firsthand the hardships and caring hearts these girls have. These wonderful people that you call monsters. She breathed heavy as she pushed Ava back. Clinton and Carl stepped between them, blocking her path, and Ira continued to yell at Ava even if she couldn't see her. I would gladly rip you to shreds for them. You have done nothing but bring pain and suffering to them and the people you put spells on for your so-called organization. Do you even understand the pain that Star was in when she was turned into a demon? Do you feel no remorse? Ira yelled, taking a few more steps towards them until realizing Clinton and Carl were not budging. If I were you, I would leave school right now and not come back. You are not welcome here, and it would take no convincing to show everyone what you did to Star and how you're treating Emma. You are the monster. She spat. Ava calmly stood on the other side of the boys, snapping her fingers. Well, you heard them. Let's get out of here. I wouldn't want to cause more of a scene. She laughs, and I couldn't help but look around at the numerous faces peeking through doors and around corners. We'll see you guys later. I'll make sure of it. I looked down at my hands. They were red and shaking violently. Emma peeked her head out from the bathroom, making a sharp squeak as she noticed all the eyes on her, and quickly hiding back inside. It was easy to guess she heard it all. I closed my wings around me, scared of all the staring eyes. Hey, Star, it's okay, Ira said softly. I smile as I feel her hand on my wing. I hurried the main back doors, closed behind Ava as she walked out of the school. All of you focus on your own damn stuff, won't you? Ira yelled, turning towards the many snooping faces. They quickly turned and ran, going to do their own thing. I chuckled softly and let my wings down, glancing around and sighing softly. Thank you, Ira. She smiled proudly, putting her hand on my shoulder. No problem. She deserved it anyway. She's really getting on my nerves. How could a human be that naive? Faith or no faith? I chuckled and turned to walk towards the bathroom. I go in to see Emma splashing her face with water. I'm fine, she said sharply. I could see tear stains on her face, even under all the water. Ira chuckled and went over, patting her back. You act all tough and strong, but you aren't, and you're not fooling me. Ira opened her arms for a hug. Emma looked at her, a little angry, but then hesitantly going for the hug. And hey, Ira said after a small moment, pushing Emma back slightly and holding her shoulders gently. Ava's gone now, so you can enjoy a normal school day. I smile, again thinking that getting back to some sense of normalcy would be good. To act as though it's okay. Because for now, it kind of is. And it was nice. We spent our classes chatting, a little overwhelmed with work we've missed, but relaxed and calm, like it used to be. A few people came up to me, asking about what they saw, if I was okay, and rumors always spread fast here. I just ended up telling everyone I'd tell them about it after school, which was definitely a mistake. There was a large group of people standing outside waiting for me. Most were excited and a little scared. All right, I'll show you guys. Just calm down, I laughed, walking out the doors, Ira and Emma at my side. Emma looked at me, concerned, worry plastered on her face. It'll be okay, I reassured her, stepping away from them, smiling shyly as I turned into my demon form. Ira snickered softly as Emma shook her head and everyone crowded around me. I told you it was blue and not purple. Someone screamed from the back of the group. I couldn't focus my eyes as people crowded around me, my breathing picking up slightly. People were shoving others, getting really close, and I felt my tail wrap around tightly on my leg. I glanced at Emma long enough that she noticed my eyes and the fearful, overwhelmed expression on my face. "Give her some space!" she yelled, making everyone, including me, flinch as her voice boomed. I heard soft apologies as they backed up, half tripping over one another. I mouthed a polite thank you to Emma before the view of her was blocked once again. I opened my mouth to speak before an idea comes to my head. Instead of trying to explain everything to everyone while we were trying to get home, I could do something much better. It only takes 20 people's signatures to form a club at the school, right? I say, turning to a few students I recognized that worked with Ear in the office. They nodded, a bit confused, and I smile as I look at the number of people around. I'm sure there were at least 20. All right. If you guys really want to learn so much about me, about Emma, and more about this world than you guys could ever think of, let's start an after-school club. Emma's eyes lit up as I looked at her with a big smile. We could be the first school to make this difference, to welcome all creatures, angels, demons, and more, Emma said confidently. No one will have to hide. We can teach people to control their powers and learn to protect everyone from the forces against us. I smiled wider as I saw her smile, an optimistic look to her that shone almost as brightly as mine did. I see her eyes drift to the sidewalk, snickering before she poked Ira and whispered something in her ear. That made her start laughing, jumping to see over the crowd at what Emma was looking at. I turned to see what it was, but I couldn't over the amount of people. "Starine! Emma!" I hear a voice call out from the sidewalk. It made everyone's loud voices die down, and I couldn't help but look at the ground with a stupid smile on my face. "Your mom is cooking dinner and wants me to come get you guys." I looked at Emma, hiding my red face from the crowd as they began to step away and disperse. As Winter's voice echoed with all the normalcy today, I had forgotten about him. I felt a pain in my chest. It was soft but seemed to resonate through my lungs and my stomach. Ira looked at me and started laughing, almost falling over. "What did you tell her?" I say, running up to Emma, knowing she said something to her about me and Winter. "Nothing," Emma said, laughing softly and patting Ira's back, trying to get her to stop laughing. Winter came, walking over us, standing beside me and smiling at Emma and Ira. I continued to hide my face in my wings. "Winter, meet Ira. She's our bestie here," Emma said as Ira put her hand out. "It's nice to meet you," Winter said, shaking her hand. "Star has good taste." "What?" Winter says, as I say it at the same time. Winter was just confused, but I screamed. "Ira, you little—" I glare at her as she laughs and runs off. I chase after her quickly, annoyed at her remark. Emma giggles and watches us chase each other. Winter sighed, and I could see him smiling at me before I gave up on the chase and walked back towards them. "Okay, come on, you two," Winter said softly, turning away from us and starting to walk towards our house. "See you tomorrow," Ira yelled, still laughing. Emma nudged me teasingly as we started walking. "You are such a pain," I mumbled as Emma giggled. We lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, 1,000,001 thoughts running through my mind. The fight with Ava, the things I said. I snicker, making Emma flinch and look over at me. Ira punched Ava. She looked at me surprised and started laughing softly. She actually punched her pretty good too. And I'm glad she did. I was afraid to, but so close to. I mumbled softly. "She deserved it," Emma said, turning over. Damn right she did. I couldn't take my eyes off the star stickers. "Emma," I said softly, turning towards her. She shifts, looking back over at me. I open my mouth, not knowing what to say, but wanting to talk, needing to talk. "Winter and Starine, sitting in a tree." She gets interrupted as I throw my pillow at her. "Will you cut that out already?" I yell, my face red but a giant smile on it. I sigh and sit up, grumbling slightly and catching the pillow as she throws it back at me. "You and Ira are going to torment me forever. But don't ruin this chance for me," I say with pleading eyes. Yeah. It's nice to see someone that makes you so happy, so I'll stop. I make no promises about Ira, though. I groan as she snickers. "There's something else on your mind, though," she said softly, sitting up as well. I sigh and look out the window. Just Ava. Well, actually, Clinton and Carl, too. Emma looked annoyed as I brought them up. Listen, I know it's far-fetched, but I don't think they're themselves, and I think Ava did something to them. Their eyes look so different. Mm-hmm, Emma mumbled, crossing her arms. She didn't believe me, I could see that much, but she almost looked angry I even considered it. Listen, they made an attempt to be better, and then Ava came along and suddenly changed their minds? I get it, I see how you can assume that they were easily convinced, but I don't think Carl would be. I saw her eyes soften at my words. I knew mentioning Carl would get it through to her, at least a little. We'll look into it tomorrow, she said, lying back down and rolling over. I sighed and continued to look at the twinkling stars. But, good night, star, Emma said softly. I pulled my knees to my chest, looking down at my bed angrily. I took a breath and looked at Emma. I was angry at her, but I knew it would be better if we both got some sleep. I shivered as I thought back to Ava, wrapping myself in my blankets to make sure I wasn't just cold. Eventually, as I lay down, falling asleep, watching the stars twinkle, the thoughts of Ava passed, and so did my worry for the 1,000 other thoughts.